Okay, welcome everyone to the Keshe Plasma Reactor Group for Wednesday, July 24th, 2019. And this is a broadcast from the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department, part of the Public Teachings in English. My name's Rick Crammond. I'm the host. That has been the host in this group for several years now. And we discuss things of the plasma variety in the sense of the Keshe definition of plasma, which includes just about everything when you break things down. Could be anything from what makes up the atoms to what makes up the galaxies. So, entire universe of plasma. So here we are, gathered with a few participants today so far. And as usual, I'll ask if anybody has anything they'd like to present or bring up as a topic for today. And as usual, I'm met with stunned silence initially until we get moving here. I think. Does anyone have anything they'd like to bring up?
We've got to get the ball rolling.
The ball rolling, yes, indeed. It takes a while to build up momentum for that snowball effect. We had a good one nation, one planet, one race for world peace today. And Mr. Keshe came in at the ending and talked for an hour or so. Perhaps, yeah, I think it was an hour and a half or so. And
I think it's nearer than just about 2 hours, I think.
Yeah, it might have been. It was a long workshop. I think it was 6 hours long. So a lot of information came out in that, and it was very interesting way it all worked out. Seemed to have kind of a flow to it where it all kind of flowed together. Anyway, people can check that out if they have a spare 6 hours to donate to listening to a workshop. So, okay, must have some topics that are on people's mind. Need a question or a topic to get things moving. No questions? No, everybody is completely satisfied with everything in life? Jeez. Okay, well, not quite sure what to do about that, but we could. I don't have any experiments running right now. I might after Thursday coming up here, the Knowledge Seekers Workshop. Mr. Keshe may be unveiling some new information during the workshop, depending on how his international meetings go in the next day or two here. So he kind of warned us that if things don't go well, then he'll be revealing a bunch of new information. So some of us are kind of hoping that things don't go so well. So we'll finally get some of the information that we've been looking for several years about the flight systems in particular and energy systems and whatnot. So he's says he's at the limit of his patience, and it's time to get things moving one way or another. Either the government's agree to peace and go forward with the technology, or he'll unveil the technology and others will go forward with it. So we're in an interesting time in the next week or so while the dust settles and all this.
Rick, I can say it was just under 3 hours with Mr. Keshe yesterday.
Really? Was it that long in the...
Yep, I've just looked at my recording I have, and it's 2 hours, 53 minutes.
Huh. Well, I'll be darned. Time flies when Mr. Keshe's voice gets heard, I guess. Yeah, so that would be at the last, basically the last half of the 1N, 1P, 1R workshop. How about you, Dan? Do you have any questions or comments? Or Lawrence, you guys were in that workshop and maybe you have something that came up during that time you'd like to discuss?
About good morning, about caustic method or parallel of this method regarding the soul.
Well, any aspect you'd like to bring up would be fine. I'm game. Just looking for some topic to go on here that we can follow the thread with and start to penetrate in terms of the knowledge.
About how to say, experiment of saltwater, iron, copper, but two different reactors. One is, like I say, clear. It's only copper, iron nano. Basic, it's H3. And the other, it's iron galvanized with iron and copper. It's raining inside. It's in open space. Like another time, it's making not jellyfish. Like I don't know. Perhaps I can share for seeing why it's two different environment. Why one is reacting one way and the other not. No, it's not reacting in this manner. It's better if I. Okay. Let me.
You should be able to share there, I think, Dan.
No, it's not a picture. It's I want to my camera.
Oh,
Or...
the video, eh? Okay, I have to
It's not
allow
video.
that. Oh, just a picture then.
It's not a video. It's just okay. I think I open, but I don't see. Okay.
I'll stop the sharing and maybe your video's on. Is that what you mean? You see your picture?
Okay. Let me turn the computer. Ah, okay. I understand what is needed to make it. I stop. Well. I stop in. I share my camera screen. Start now, and in this manner it's better. It's proper. Okay. I zoom in. You see, it's attached from the wall of reactors. I zoom in again.
Do you mean all the little pieces or that red piece in particular?
No, no red. Yeah, it's like attached, I like saying jellyfish. No, it's perhaps from water of rain in this salt water. Here it's like a hemoglobin, like I said, because it's iron still galvanized, and I have the iron and copper coil or copper here. I don't know if
So you have like a copper coil
Copper.
around the iron nail.
yes, I have copper, iron, and galvanized zinc. It's like hemoglobin, no? Like it's not hemoglobin. It's like hemoglobin, but it's the reason because in this reactor I have this no mud because it's not mud. It's I don't know how to it's create, and in the others it's not. It's iron nano, and I have the GANs is here. It's clear water, and down it's red. But the difference why in this particular it's making I like to say jellyfish growing attached to the wall. Perhaps I move too fast. I ask the other knowledge seekers if somebody is making the same or seeing the same. And some people from France to other place saying it's like I don't know, one perhaps for salt, the other for the I don't know environment, but it's clear it's not happen in this reactor. I have also amino acid in one time after it's disappear amino acid, and I have this. If you want,
Right. Well, maybe it is the amino acids, and that's what I was thinking. Sometimes they will sink. I had that happen recently.
Mhm. It's transfer. It's not transform. It's working beyond. It's not in top. It creates something inside. Interact with the guns, with the environment, with salt water. Perhaps somebody can tell something.
Have you measured the pH of the water there? Because it may be some sort of fungus that's creating that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, especially if it's open to the atmosphere. And how long has it been sitting? How long did it take to develop these jellyfish, as you say?
This 1 week, it's initiator creating this.
All right, that's pretty
It's
quick.
raining very much. Perhaps it's change of salinity in the water and separate layer.
Did you say you use rainwater in this?
No, it's I use it the tap water, and it's in open space. It's raining a lot, and I have it's the sun period of sun of 30 degrees, and somebody.
Oh, you mean it's like outside,
Yes,
and it rains sometimes. Okay,
yes.
yeah. Well, the rain could definitely bring in some interesting critters that could grow in your setup, because you've got a salty, warm environment, and that's exactly what a lot of little critters like for growing. So, I mean, if you're in a lab, you probably have the same environment if you're trying to grow a culture of some cells or something. So if you're open to the air, then anything that's in the air can come along, and whatever is can exist in that field strength, then you could start developing it, definitely.
Like stagnated water.
Yeah, sure, it's full of lots of life.
Does
Or,
your tap
even a
water
mud
have
puddle.
does
A
your
mud-
tap water have much chlorine?
Yeah, that's a consideration for sure. Are you able to answer? I think Dan might be noisy there. I can't answer it.
Yes, yes, it's tap water. It's yes, it's treated with chlor, but I don't feel or smell in the water. It is.
Yeah, well,
It's
that's
dirty.
maybe it. It's got very little chlorine. It evaporates, and then you got something sort of growing on like stagnant water.
Could be.
Yes, it's possible. Everything is possible. For this reason, I like the not collecting the GANs from the reactor. I like when I see the interact between GANs, amino acid, and matter inside of reactor. Mm, it's it's like a picture. I like it looking every day. The change.
Hello. It could be a kind of saltwater algae. They usually grow in aquariums.
Good point.
So because you added salt, and maybe it is not really pure, and there is still some information, and it found the energy fields, and so they start growing. And if you had maybe 1 volt electricity, you will not see this kind of production. But if you just let it there sit, and it happens all the time.
Yeah, even a mud puddle will tend to accumulate life pretty quickly. The different slimes, the world of slime is actually quite interesting. That green kind of slimy stuff that tends to cover things that are in the right environment. Down by the ocean is one place, or in a moist environment, the rainforest and so on. It can get this slime mold on it very quickly. And it turns out that it's actually like one body, like one being, and it's able to communicate with itself, and it's has a certain amount of intelligence, which makes sense because it's been around for, like, I think, millions of years. Well, there's an interesting critter. It hasn't learned to shave yet, I guess. Are you trying to talk, Dan? We're not hearing you right now.
It's I am working. It's a bit louder
Okay.
noise. I think I share it the other picture for seeing.
And what are we looking at here?
My jellyfish, my preferred jellyfish, growing the zinc.
It's on a zinc, like a scrubby or something, or a plate?
No, it's a piece of massive zinc. Zinc 99%.
And is there another electrode in there?
Yes, pipe of copper. Initially, it's how to say? It's nano cover.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. perhaps in this way I can. This is another place. Here I have the creature, and then the other reactor I have a copper zinc plate, zinc and copper, and in this particular is growing, and I like this bubble when it's create the gas. Oops, sorry. Why? Where is it? Yes, yes. It's how it's create this. It's not like calcium, no. When you create a CO2, a zinc oxide, you know, it's bigger bubble. I asking somebody else is make it also.
Okay, any comments about Dan's creature? Anybody else have creatures that get created?
I saw the formation of plenty of creatures when I used algae, Scottish algae, and so they pulled in the reaction other elements, and this was quite amazing because trying to survive, they were creating the ocean again. And so it took them a couple of months to create plenty of different expressions of, let's say, life again. And the scent of the water, it was really like breathing the sea air. So it pulled in a lot, and it was giving at the same time. So maybe in this way, you could understand this concept, like saying the weaker, there the algae are the weakest, let's say, creature, the strongest in the bowl. It's going to give, and it's creating the environment again. So this idea of being the being that is generating the environment, and so there is no weaker and no stronger. There is a mutual interaction, and then you see life created because it's from the seed, from what you put in the bowl, in the reaction, and it's pulling in energy and transforming it into the environment it needs to survive. It's just going towards equilibrium.
There's an article that came out in the last few days. It's not a totally new idea, but it's just come out recently. Let me see, the one that I have here, I can't show the actual article, but I'll read a bit out of it. And I'll put the link into the chats. And it has to do with, it's called NASA's idea for making food from thin air, just became a reality. It could feed billions. This is from, it's called Big Think website. And it mentions this company that makes this, it's called Solar Foods from Finland. And they're marketing a new protein powder called Soline. And it's made out of CO2, water, and electricity. It says it's a high protein, flour-like ingredient. Contains 50% protein content, 5 to 10% fat, and 20 to 25% carbs. Looks and tastes like wheat flour and could become an ingredient in a wide variety of food products after its initial launch in 2021. So interesting. They take CO2, they capture carbon dioxide, combine it with water and nutrients and vitamins, and they're able to, with a bit of power, what it does is it creates and promotes a natural fermentation process, similar to what produces yeast and some like lactic acid bacteria. So it's very interesting. This is basically what Mr. Keshe has been talking about through the Keshe technology. And it may be that we end up creating something similar to what Dan is showing, or maybe with the amino acids, or perhaps with a combination of GANs and amino acids, or some other particular setup where we can create food products that people can enjoy eating. And we've already talked in the Keshe Foundation about getting energy from the GANs water and from just the fields and the energy fields and so on, working with that. But most people enjoy having some sort of food that has texture and substance to it, you know, to some certain kind of satisfies a certain part of us, I guess. And usually protein is important in that as well. And we do see what they call beef-free burgers happening nowadays with various pea protein and soy protein, that kind of thing. There's several large companies that are burger companies that are now adapting to these beef-free burgers. But this is a new idea where they actually use air, the carbon dioxide out of the air, combine it with water, nutrients, and some vitamins, and then bingo, they, through a fermentation process, produce this yeast-like product that they can basically dry and use it in a certain way for foods. So I thought that was pretty interesting and kind of big news, actually, in many ways.
Well, I used this reaction with algae to create seawater and a high quantity of iodine, and
Of what again? You say
iodine.
you create seawater?
Yes, I recreate seawater, in fact.
Recreate.
Yes, it's like you start just with
So you're breaking
salt
up there,
water
Jim.
and algae.
Start with salt water and algae.
They process the reaction, so they are controlling, in fact, the GANs reduction at the same time. and I'm using this fields to generate conditions where they can survive.
Okay, and how are they used again for what process?
The rhythm.
Sorry, I missed that.
To create.
Oh, your voice is really breaking up. It's hard to hear. It's a bandwidth connection there or something.
Elements that are used, elements that are not usually there, and
create
how
elements
they are
that are
still
not
alive.
there.
Yes, so it's just using the help, because the living entity that is inside the water is going to control the process by itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is one of the new lab processes, is to allow the natural world to do the work for you and set up an array or some sort of scaffolding, I think is Lawrence's favorite word for it, that is able to replicate on a nano level, different structures. Let the bacteria and viruses and all the little bugs and parasites do the work for us. That really makes sense in many ways.
But that is not pouring powders or nutrients. It's allowing nature to do it by itself. So it's a natural process.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not mixing up alchemical ingredients. We are just waiting for nature to build its own environment again, and then we can use that kind of water and specific gases. They have qualities that are different from the usual guns, because the algae are working within the transmutation. And so you see different colors, qualities, and effects.
Mm-hmm. I think they discovered recently that bacteria, a certain type of bacteria, is responsible for the process of gold sublimating within a vein inside of a mountain over a period of time. The bacteria is able to essentially convert the gold from a gaseous state into a solid form and so on, and allow it to form in these veins. And it happens in a relatively fast process, they say as well.
Maybe it's stocking gold because it needs it later on, and so it's just it's working like ants, collecting it. It's these are natural processes. It's just a matter of solidifying. It's just calling in. And so by choosing the right bacteria, we can produce cheese. It's very easy. Just mix some lactobacillus and you produce cheese.
Mm-hmm.
Now then I use the waters, these charged waters, to help suffering trees. plants that were in need. And so they received all this flow of energy, which helped them to uh, become stronger, to survive. And so transforming nature, giving back to nature fields, energetic fields. And this way it is in the alchemical way, so it's just using waters of this kind. Not ganses, just waters. And I published a page where you can see the work and all the trees that were treated, let's say, in some way, just helping them, a few drops or a cup of water, and you see the effects. So I call this process paradising. It's just Paradise Lost project, and it took around a year, to see the results, and it is astonishing. It looks like paradise, but it was in fields that were in terrible conditions and really polluted, dry, and then you see the effect of this kind of waters that is shared with every single plant that is present there. I was thinking about helping 5 different trees, and so I poured some of this waters there, and just asking them to accept this gift, and they shared it. And so when we went back to see the effect, we couldn't really believe. It's like paying a gardener's 2 months work, and so it happened just by itself. Just it's so wonderful. Well, I put the link. The pictures are quite heavy, but unfortunately, but the quality is there, so you can see the effect. Even the light, the colors of the fields is totally different, and there were billions bees around flying, and it was this sound continuously, and so it was just very, very strong. So this is exchanging fields, and this is the condition when we started, and it's all dry. So we were looking for trees that were in terrible conditions, and some of them, they looked really even dead. I mean, it was breaking into pieces, like rusty kind of bark falling off the tree. And so we tried this quite a few times, and then you shall see the difference. And this is, it could be called paradising. this is only using waters, and there were some containers with guns, but far away. Look at this one. There are problems here, you see. So we tried this on 6 different areas, and just giving waters. And transformation is transmutation, we should say. It's present. It takes a month. See, this tree had a lot of problems, and life started where the problems were. And so it converted most of the fields that were in, let's say, in the wrong way around. Let's say from gravitational to magnetic, and so it moved up. This took a couple of months altogether. So we could see the effect within 10 days. Now this tree you see here, look at the effect. And there were people hugging this tree all the time. So everyone could feel feels. No one knew about this. So, but people could feel the flow. So they were touching this tree. So we did not concentrate the work on salad or tomatoes. We wanted to funk trees and nature. So that was the mood, the attitude. So just giving back and thanking. And these trees answered. In Sequoia, and it was something like 2 to 3 years taller in a month's time. So even this is just growing. And you see that leaves are in a perfect shape and condition. There's nothing wrong with it. There is only energy flowing so strong that it's just pushing. This was the area I studied. So this means that the wood for if you see problems, then you can solve them directly. This is the third phase where we start so we have specific trees, very strong trees, and help them. Here you shall see the difference. The first pictures with the free lime trees, and here you see the difference. After the effect takes place, it's I said a couple of months, 2 to 3 months. Totally different environment. All of every. So you're sure.
What's that, Jedi? Couldn't hear that. Couldn't hear your last sentence there.
Plants trying to let's see, even grass is not disturbed. It's look at this. It's not man-made. That is the effect. But you just stop there and sit down and meditate. It's integrating on the color of it. It's high frequency. It's yeah, it's kind of magic. Let's say something beautiful. So we can repair, we can help, we can fix things. It takes 2 to 3 months, and you could either produce 100% more fruit, but this way just showing. So it's just a gift, giving back. It's a sort of a nation.
Noticed some sort of craft in the. Did you notice the craft in the top left part of the picture there? What's that?
if the intention. There is a picture where you can see a bee. There is a bee flying. If you enlarge the picture, yes, that is the bee. That is one of the bee. Yes,
Okay.
that is the bee. That is the bee.
Looks like a flying saucer or something. It's
yes,
actually up close.
I enlarged the picture because, in fact, it moved really fast in front of the camera, and
Interesting.
this was epochal picture. Yes, I asked myself. So that this is good hope to help where you see that nature needs help and give to the environment, give them back to the environment because they come from the environment, these metals. So give them back in the right place where it is required, it's needed. And that it's nice.
Yeah, your voice keeps cutting out, Jedi, but we're getting the gist of it.
Just basic plants tendency to waste your waters. Use all the waters you produce to help nature where you are around you, in fields, trees, flowers, whatever. You shall see the difference. And nature knows what to do with it. Maybe we don't. Nature knows. So it shall transform it or stop it or just use a tiny portion of it. And create not field, and so it's just no in between one side and waters on the other side. The distance is about 4 kilometers, and so I saw what happened. And these flowers, there were 200 of them suddenly appearing, and they only received 40 meters away from a Gans bottle.
Well, thank you, Jedi. Nice, very nice photography there. Very clear pictures, high resolution. Nice to see. And interesting results, of course. Anybody have a question for Jedi? Annie, I'll just a second here. I'll bring you into, and you can speak as a panelist. Annie, do you want to go ahead? Do you have a question or
Oh,
comment?
yeah. Is that, what kind of flower is that?
Jedi, do you have a flower type on that? Not hearing you, Jedi.
I'm looking for the name. Just a moment.
Okay.
It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Okay, any other comments or questions on this?
Well, on this topic, I had an interesting experience recently with a houseplant. Although I don't know how the experiment would have gone if it was with normal water or like not plasma water. But I have a before and after picture of a plant in 24 hours after I gave it some CO2 water with like a little tiny bit of CO2 GANs in it. Oh, cool. I see the response for the flower type.
Campanula.
Campanula. Cool. Thank you, Jedi. I've never added a picture in the chat before. Is that where I would do it?
Well, you could, but the best way it is just to share. Do you see a share button that says new share or something like that? Green share button on your.
Okay, I'm on my phone. Let's see. Share content. Photos. No.
Usually you have your picture ready to go, and then you click on the new share button in Zoom,
Okay.
and that
I didn't.
allows you.
Okay, cool. I'll just take screenshots. Sorry, I thought I had them ready.
No problem. We're enjoying this picture of Jedi as we wait here.
Awesome. So there's the first picture. How do I'm not sure how to go to the second. Oh, cool. I just slide. Yeah, so this plant had been left in a hot upstairs for a long time with, I don't believe anybody watered it. And so I saw it and it was so sad. And so then I gave it the plasma water with a little bit of CO2 GANs in it. And the next day it was like super cheery. It's like less than 24 hours. But I don't know if that's how plants would normally react.
Well, they do like water, at least plants that require water. It does make a huge difference, but that is pretty spectacular. All right, you can tell it's very happy at that point. The leaves have just outstretched and are elevating themselves more easily. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's see. Like it just feels like it looks. It just feels happy. Obvious. I know it's obvious, but it just was interesting. Because I'm newer into the foundation and the knowledge and just playing with life.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a great example of an experiment that way. It'd be nice to have a control, of course, like if you had two plants that were half dead like that, and then
Yeah. Ooh.
treated one with water and one with the GANS water, that would be a fun comparison to see which one responds quicker, to see which of the siblings grows the fastest and bestest.
Yeah. But it could be kind of, I feel similar. It could be affected by, what was it, Dr. Emoto, who, like, if you thought certain thoughts, or if you would say like negative things to water, how the water crystals would be all jagged. But if you said like loving things and positive things, the crystals would be all, or the water molecules would be like beautiful or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I could see, I mean, if you're using a control and then your CO2 water, I'm sure just that in itself is like creating the condition for one to be better than the other, which is ultimately like, that's the key.
But I got the idea that there is a transference taking place because I chose 5 trees, and then you see the effect on the entire field. So I suppose that even giving just plain water to one, the next one with GANS water, it shall share its energy. They are, because the two plants, they are sisters, and so transference is taking place. And so the stronger one is not allowing the other one to die. And even if you may give just to one the energetic plasmatic water, I believe that it shall share it. Because this is what I saw.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely that occurs, especially, I was actually thinking of this idea earlier today, that it occurs especially in plants that are planted all in the same dirt, let's say the same ground, where their roots might have an interconnection through the various means that plants and trees communicate through their roots. They communicate more through their roots than they do through the atmosphere. But if they're in pots, then it's sort of a different situation. Like this plant's in a pot, its roots can't communicate with another plant that's in a pot. So it would be, in a way, forced to communicate through its leaves and its fields, rather than the more natural way of being in the earth, as a common earth environment, like most trees or plants would be. So it's interesting. There's a few videos out about how trees communicate through their root system. And there's a whole process involving the bacteria and other basically plasma fields is the way they communicate. The scientists aren't quite clear on the way the actual signals are transmitted. They have a sciencey way of explaining it, but there's just some gaps in their understanding. But they have done tests of plants and put radioactive CO2 in the leaves of one tree, and that radioactive CO2 will show up in a neighboring tree, even though it's not transmitted through the atmosphere. So it goes from one tree down into its root system, over to the root system of another tree, and into its leaf system. So they do indeed help each other, exactly like Jedi was talking about there.
And this is called sympathy. this kind of process, we could call it transference, but in nature it's called sympathy. And there is this old man that is, he was an engineer and he was, let's say, baking in a pottery. And he used to look for specific kinds of argile to produce pots. And then he was on top of a mountain where he could find this quality, this soil. And he saw a great fire on the opposite mountain, and saw the firemen that were trying to work really hard. And then there was a third mountain on the right, and it was a sister of the first one. And suddenly, there was no explanation. He saw the fire just on the second mountain, and he said, "That's the sister, and it's burning." And that is sympathy. And he was there. Just it was a testimony. Let's say he understood what was happening, and someone did this experiment in the 70s, 80s, enters the room, and then it destroys a plant, and there are 7 plants of the same family there, and one is destroyed. Then they placed electrodes on the 6 plants left, and people went into the room, and nothing happened. And then when the killer comes in, they all reacted. So there is conscience, and they are in contact, they are in touch. And we know this, but maybe it is not accepted until we see the diagrams. The truth is that they share this field all the time, night and day. And so as they are connected in the lower part, let's say they're just connected to the mushrooms, and that is direct contact and the electric kind of interconnection. So it's a neural one. But there is another one that is, let's call it a Wi-Fi. And that is enables them not to move around, but to know everything, to reach. It's a sort of electrolytic antenna. It was used by the Nazi, the trees. They used trees as antennas. Just place a nail at 2.5 meters high and use the tree as an antenna. So we can do it. They do it. So it's just sharing this water or what they are receiving. It's a part of the game. Then transmutation and transferring this from one plant to the other. That is Star Trek. Because you spoke about transferring radioactive material from one plant to another, or GAN's energy flow, so plasmatic energy from one plant to the other without contact. And in fact, contact is there all the time. So they are interconnected. And they recognize us, so they perfectly know who we are. If we are acting in a bad way or in a proper way, proper manner, because they feel the enemy, the gardener that is coming to cut the branches. They feel this person, they detect it, they see. So animals know and plants know. They are living entities. It's just our problem if we don't allow our conscience to accept the fact that they are intelligent. And so they deserve respect, not because of intelligence, but because they are living creatures, because they are part of nature. That is our mistake. It's not their fault. We abuse. It's just creating the possibility to produce the fields. Ask the plant in the next reaction in the formula, could you please transform this salty water in food? And the plant is going to do it for you, and there is no problem at all. And you drink it, and that's it. You have all the energy you need, and you don't need a factory, industries. They're going to do it. And you integrate your work, your questions, intent, and participate. Is this all you wanted, all you needed? You keep cutting down trees to build chairs and houses, and just ask. It's a different position.
Yes, I shared a picture in my Facebook today about trees that were cut in the local area, and they were old growth, very, very large tree. It was so large they could only fit a couple of other small trees in with this huge tree on the huge logging truck. And I haven't seen one that big in years. And it was probably between 600 and 800 years old. And I almost cried when I saw it, because I realized just there's so few of those trees left. In fact, the government here just blessed 56 of them or something that they're saving, and they had a big news conference that they're saving 56 trees out of all the billions of trees, literally billions in this province. They're saving 56 at least out of the tallest 270 that they've designated not to be cut, which is kind of nice. But holy cow, it's a far cry from protecting a forest to just protect 56 trees with a small buffer zone around them. And it literally, my heart jumped, and I just almost cried, because it was just so sad to see this, what Mr. Keshe quaintly calls the vertical people. And where the humans are the horizontal people. We move horizontally mostly over the planet, but the trees, they move, their growth is vertically. And so they're the vertical people. And when the old vertical people get cut down, it's just a sad day. It shouldn't be. And now we're reading in the newest science that the old growth trees, the ones that are really old that are in the forest, are actually the ones that have the greatest diversity of DNA. And they've built up certain resistances over their lifetime to bugs and viruses and bacteria and all the predators and everything else. They've conditioned themselves to the environment, which has been changing over that time period. So their DNA has more adaptation built into it. And so their offspring and the whole forest has more diversity and more resilience because of these old trees. And if all the old trees are cut down and then a new forest replanted, and then it's cut down in, say, 50 years or even less now, sometimes 20 or 25 years, they'll cut the trees down. So it never has a chance to have the old trees again. So it doesn't have the chance to build up the diversity and the resilience into the DNA. And so that means if the planet gets a bit warmer, or if certain bugs come along, it can wipe out the entire forest now, the replanted forests, because they don't have that resilience built into them. So this is one of the reasons why the older trees need to be preserved and allowed to continue to grow, even though they're so lucrative for the wood industry. It's really dense wood. It's not like the fast growing younger trees. It's a really premium wood for sometimes for musical instruments and all kinds of construction uses, for the best premium wood of the world. And often the whole trees will be sent to some foreign country other than Canada to be processed, because most of it leaves the country. So basically, a bunch of rich people are buying the old growth trees, and it's not allowing the diversity of the forest to rejuvenate. So, not to mention the pleasure and the rejuvenation for humans to be in that environment where these huge trees are, like they can be 20 or 30 feet around at the base, and they just go up for 100 meters or more. So it's a big deal, and just part of what happens on planet Earth, and with the humans that are a little more greedy than others and have to find a way to destroy the environment in order to get their more than their share of the finances of the world, I guess. But it's in many ways a shame, and we need to find other ways to go about things rather than mistreating our vertical people friends. If they're like grandfather or grandmother, you don't just cut them down because they're old and get rid of them. In fact, a lot of times in our modern cultures, we don't take care of our own old people as well as we should either. They have a lot of DNA diversity built into them. They've gone through a lot of crap over their life and have adapted to it and have found ways to endure and survive in tough situations. And that resilience should be passed on to the younger folks just by hanging out with them or listening to some of the old stories. And some of the veterans like to tell their old war stories and that kind of thing. Well, sometimes it can show an aspect of themselves, or aspect of humans, that might show the resilience and their ability to get through a really tough situation and survive it, and go on to maybe create a family after that and raise many people into the world and all that. So it's a big idea, actually, this idea of the older plants, animals, and humans may have more to offer than what we give them credit for, let's say.
There are two images. One is the neuron, and every tree is one of them. And so the planet is the scope, and the trees are neurons. And so that is intelligence. It's working, it's sharing, it's present. And so this is acting on the totality of the fields, because it is the planetary intelligence that you are disturbing every time you kill a tree. And so this is something we should respect. There are reasons that push some men to destroy a forest. And these are political reasons. Since the Roman Empire, there was this need of destroying the temples that belonged to other gods. And pagans, Celts, Druids, let's say, they lived in the forest. And so the empire sent soldiers to burn the forest, to destroy the trees, so that they could not gather and hide, and that was their temple. And this is still taking place today, so there is no difference. Because by destroying that environment, just think about a tree as a GANs processor. It's producing GANSes, waters, sp2, sp3, solid state GANs. It's sharing it with the mycelium, with the fungus. And this entity that is building up, rising the energy, planetary energy, they are killing it. So these are substations, again, pouring plasmatic fields all around us. And with this 5G excuse that they disturb microwaves, disrupting communications, these people are cutting down half of the trees you see around you now in cities. And this is really disgusting.
Can I come in with a little balance here, though? I think there's an echo. Okay. You know, it's not just humans that kill trees. Other trees kill trees. It's not just the humans on this planet that are violent. The insect world has violence beyond comprehension of humans. We learn our dirtiest tricks from watching the insects, how they do to each other. So it's an overall amino acid based life forms on this planet that are having a problem, not just the humans. So I just wanted to put that balance in there. You know, it's like, oh, people are bad, people are bad. Well, you know, yeah.
Yes, I understand. But the intention, we have the possibility to do otherwise.
Well, I mean, so do the insects, and so does everybody else. So it's just it's a question of energy. It's a question of energy. We're not drawing the energy from where we're supposed to be drawing it because our amino acid something problem. So it's overall amino acid life-based forms on this planet that have a problem. Yeah, and the intentions are the intentions, you know. I mean, why is one plant killing another plant? You have to ask them, you know, but still that's happening.
But that is a natural process, and it is
you could make that argument
within nature.
Well, it's natural with humans too, but humans have the difference that they have a possibility of having a soul and possibility of acting from that position instead of from the physicality. You're talking about the physicality, Mario, only. Correct?
Yeah, but so do mosquitoes.
Yeah, well, no, the mosquito doesn't have a conscious choice to not feed today. I'm not going to feed today. They don't do that.
They're humans.
Humans have a purely conscious choice. They can say, I'm not going to eat today. I'm going to fast today. I do it all the time.
Well, yeah, but you cannot go for very long unless you learn.
I can go 10 days without solid food. That's not bad for a skinny guy. But I have to consciously decide to do that. Otherwise, it would drive me crazy. I would.
Well, except that after 10 days, you have to make a conscious decision to kill something and eat it. Or you don't have to kill it. It's already being killed. My point is, you're putting a differentiation between our consciousness and their consciousness as if there's a difference.
Yes,
That they
there
don't
is a
have-
difference. That's, I definitely would say there's a difference. If you don't see any distinction between yourself and a mosquito, well, congratulations, you're in a higher plane. You see everything as all as one. But then
Well-
you'll have no distinction of the molecules that are in front of you or your desk. You'll be running into things because everything is you. So why would you even just make any distinction of calling anything a different name or anything else? It's all one thing then.
No,
That's a
there's
different perspective than just saying, than actually trying to get in touch with your own essence and trying to come from that position rather than the position of the physicality. And the mosquito doesn't have that option. Humans
Well,
do.
I don't agree.
We know
with that.
we can actually know better and make different choices. This is the
Well,
whole thing about it.
You mean you could starve yourself to death? You have that choice. So does the mosquito.
What's death? What is death?
Well, but that's the same.
When my
choice.
time comes, yeah, I probably will do that. I would
Well,
be
but-
happy to pass. I would not call it death. Maybe you call it death because you're looking again at the physicality. What about
No,
the
I'm
essence? What
saying
about
there's-
the soul?
I'm saying you're saying there's a difference that humans have a choice and these other entities don't.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying humans have a choice to be acting from their soul, and then they have a choice.
Well, so does a mosquito. That's why we have to elevate the souls of every creature on this planet, not just the humans. They all have the choice. Everyone has the choice, not just the humans, but the lions and the tigers and the bears and the mosquitoes and the plants that are strangling each other and all the rest of it.
Have a choice of what?
To elevate their own souls and stop the stealing. This is not just a human problem. It's a overall, the biological entities on this planet are all guilty.
That's what I'm saying. Yes. But we don't have to identify with the biological. We don't have to identify with the physicality. You're talking about the physicality. The biological is the physicality, correct? You're not saying the soul in this case. You're not.
Yes, but every entity on this planet has a soul, including every atom in your body. So,
Yeah.
so what's the difference?
So, but if you're not conscious of that or you're not acting from that position, then it doesn't matter really.
Well, that's the point of
An ant
elevating.
has a soul, an ant hill has a soul. Those are connected to all other ants and all other ant hills and all of that. But it
Yeah.
doesn't mean you're going to, train ants for world peace or something.
Well, we do need to. We do need to elevate the souls of the ants. We need to elevate the souls of us by our knowledge, understanding that our souls can draw the energy without the stealing. That raises our level, that transfers to them. They get it, we get it, everybody gets it, and we all leave this planet. That's the point.
I don't necessarily see it that way
Well,
myself, but maybe you do. Yeah, I can see that
it's-
perspective. I don't think that all of a sudden all the animals are not going to eat each other and everybody's all going to get along and just feed off the energy. I don't know if it's going to go that way. But
Well, I
certainly
think-
certain people are able to do that. We were mentioning earlier in the 1P broadcast about people that are, for example, breatharians that live on breathing and others that live off of sunlight and that kind of thing without having to eat food. And they've demonstrated that apparently it's possible to do that. And of course, people fast for a long period of time on just water and that sort of thing. So we're able to at least partly transform into that position, at least some of us. But generally you don't see a lion existing for a long time without eating, because usually they wither away and die, and that's just part of what happens in the animal kingdom. But we're talking about a transformation, a transmutation into a different life form, a different life, a life that is not the physicality and exists beyond the physicality and has an existence beyond the death of the physicality. In fact, it's not even identified with the physicality. It can become any physicality in any place that it wishes or ends up. And if we come from that position, then that will be the position that already has the compassion built into it, the universal love built into it, the objective observation and detachment, and all of that comes from that entity of presence, of essence. It's not built into the physicality necessarily. The animal doesn't necessarily get all those higher emotions and higher aspirations. In fact, it has to become passive in order for those things to be felt, in order for those higher fields to even be present and exist. Because they're finer, they're more of a finer essence, and they're not normally available to those that are behaving as animals instead of true humans. Human beings, the word human, being in the moment, being present in their essence, in their true essence, not in their personality or physicality or all of the other conditioning that we inherit as being part of this planet, that we might be working most of our life to try to relieve ourselves from, to get from underneath that conditioning, to get away from all that physicality stuff and be able to operate from a different level. And in a way, we do that just coming into this group or other groups online, like the 1N1 P1R presentation. It doesn't matter, the Knowledge Seekers Workshop. When people come into the group here, we have, attendees, maybe a dozen or 2 dozen or whatever, 3, 4, 5 dozen different groups and so on that show up in the meeting, and then of course on YouTube and live stream, all these other social media platforms. So there's a lot of people present, but we don't see them in their physicality. In fact, we don't have any indication that there's any physical people out there in a way, other than we hear a voice and we associate a name with a voice, and we assume that there's another physical being somewhere out there, but we're not really concerned about the physicality in these groups, because we don't generally are not complaining about all their physicality problems and so on and so forth, or some of the physicality stuff that gets discussed when we're face to face or in a group of other people that have similar problems that they're talking about and so on. So our issues and our topics seem to delve into a more ethereal world where it's not about the physicality, it's about our interactions in this group that are on this emotional sort of emotional and spiritual level. Essentially, it's just part of the way the technology works. And so we work by voice, we go by the hints that we get from voice and the different perspectives that other people offer, the understandings that that we might find that elevate us to the next level. We might have insights. Oh wow, that was really cool that so and so said that, and it made me think of the times when I felt those higher emotions or whatever, different things that trigger us to remember parts, to remember ourselves, to be present and to pay attention to the little things that are around us in that environment and so on. So anyway, I'm done that rant part for now. I hope something made sense there. What's your perspective? Give me some other perspectives here.
I can vouch for a difference. What I've noticed in the presence of plasma, I've noticed a hell of a big difference with mosquitoes. They don't bite anymore. Birds don't escape. Cockroaches don't run away. What else? Different animals, they're not as aggressive at all. They're changed completely
Is
just with
that
the presence of plasma.
is the presence of plasma, or maybe you've changed, John, and maybe you're more, you know,
Well,
change your emotions somehow that there's more
Well,
acceptable to them.
I've never been aggressive to them. I've always left the mosquitoes bite me. They
Mhm.
always left marks on me, but I haven't scratched, so it don't go to worse. But now they don't bite me anymore. I let the mosquito uh, be on my arm. It'll be there for 10 minutes, absorbing the energy, but it won't bite. It won't prick my skin. And I
Hmm.
see with cockroaches. Cockroaches normally, when you're near them, they run away. And I've seen the cockroaches just walk by and they don't bother you or they don't run away. Birds do the same. I've seen a hell of a difference. I don't know if it's myself because I've never been aggressive to any of these
Mhm.
animals. Uh, I haven't looked at trees or plants because um, I haven't got down to studying to that extreme. But I can vouch there's a big difference with animals at all the different levels.
Mhm.
It's pretty astounding, but and I've mentioned this to many a friend that comes along when I've explained these energies to them, and well, that's how the plants, the seeds, when you put them in the water and the way that the plant changes is incredible. I've got a pretty scientific bloke, that a friend of mine, and when he saw the change in just tomato seeds he planted in 10 days, the changes there were, he comes along every 12 hours and says, what can we do with all this energy, these changes? He can't believe it. He's gone round the bend for the last 4 months. He comes along continually and says, what can we do with this? What can we do with this? I've given him different ideas and have been teaching him. And he's certainly changing his attitude towards all these things also. It's pretty astounding, but these are the changes I've been observing.
Yeah, I think those GANS materials are not just elevating our souls, but the souls of all of the entities on this planet, including the plants, including the animals, including the insects, including the plankton. Yeah, all that GANS water dumped into the oceans and stuff. It's changing, it's elevating the souls. So I just, there's this, I was watching something about the campaign of the global warming, the carbon being the enemy. Carbon, we're carbon. This is this mindset that humans are the enemy of humanity. This literally in the what is the Club of Rome's book with Al Gore and the rest of these guys. The humanity, we need to do a propaganda campaign to make humans believe that humanity is the enemy. Humanity isn't the enemy. It's our amino acids have a problem. And that's what Mr. Keshe has come to, I mean, it was done before, but we made mistakes and it's been tried many times. So now the GANS materials are elevating our souls, all of us, not just the humans. It's not just the humans that are the problem. We're going to have peace on earth. What are we going to do? Have a feast, and kill a bunch of animals and, eat, drink, marry.
A peace feast. Yeah, let's have a peace
right?
feast.
See, that's not the point. The point is elevating the souls of all the entities on this planet to bring a balance so that the stealing stops. It's just as simple as that. It's really, humans are not the enemy. You know what I mean? We have a problem. True, but so do the plants. So does maybe not as bad a problem with most plants, but, you know, degrees are still degrees, you know. But that was my whole point, though. So.
Mhm. Well, we definitely all have a battle for our position on the planet. Like these trees we see in the images and so on, they've been there for many years, and they had to battle for that position when they were young, and have to battle for it every day in a way too. And we don't see the battles because we just see these beautiful trees that seem to be growing and whatnot. But underneath in the root system, that's where most of their battles are pitched. And that's a very active situation in any forest or field, or, you know, this field we're looking at probably has a mushroom mycelium network that extends through the whole field, and other networks of root systems and interactions of all these different plasmatic entities of different strengths that they get signals from and give signals to, and get nutrition from, and convert materials and actually transmute some materials, and so on. All of this going on. The trees that we see are like the tip of an iceberg, and they say, what is it, 9/10 of the iceberg is underneath the surface. You just see 10% of it that's sticking out. And I think that trees are equivalent. I always look at the size of a tree, while its root system will be roughly the size of the tree going underground. And in many trees, it extends out to as much as kilometers in the way that they can sense their environment. So even if you think about it, even someone walking on this field would be felt by that tree before you're even anywhere close to it. It would know somehow that there's some, you know, a possible predator or possible something out there that was, you know, entering into its zone. It would feel the pressures or the shocks or something, I'm sure.
Maybe, as many an esoteric master will say, Earth is a big experiment, and the thing is, Earth has been given so many positive qualities, or so much stuff to us. The same thing happens here in Argentina. The big remark here is we got everything just laid down in front of us, so everybody just doesn't care and wants everything given to them, and that's what happened on Earth. This big experiment is what happens when everything is given in an easy way to all these souls. What happens? And they sort of start killing each other or being aggressive to each other. And this is what we have to change right now. Why are they observing us from outside as a queer experiment?
Well, it could just be
prime rule of the universe is don't disturb the natives. So, I mean, that's the way Star Trek always operated and so on, is you never disturb the local populations on the planet you hang out with, or, you know, attending. Go ahead.
Well, there's also, don't forget, the man from space has come here numerous times trying to help us. So it's not like they're not trying to intervene. There's a problem. It's like a medical problem in a way. You know, it's a medical problem. That's, you know, physicality based. But yeah, that we have this problem on this planet, and the man from space has been here, and the man from space is here now, trying to solve the problem. You know, but see, Mr. Keshe said every entity in the universe looks more or less the same. Now you have to reconcile that with all the rest of it. So how does that work? If every entity looks more or less the same, then what makes it different? And the answer to that is very simple. Everything manifests itself in any environment unique to that environment. So even though everything's the same, when it manifests on this planet at this point with this field strength at this position with its RNA and all this stuff that goes on, it manifests itself in this condition. So our physicality is not really us. It's where the soul has manifested itself in this position. So it's just that. We've been conditioned to think of ourselves as the physicality is us, but that's not correct, because the physicality is just, it's different in every environment, and it's just the manifestation of the soul in this condition, in this environment. See, so the soul is basically the same as every other soul, same as the soul of a mosquito, same as the soul of every other entity. But because of the RNA and the field strength differential and how it manifests itself on this planet, those are mosquitoes, we're humans, those are lions and tigers and bears. But the actual entities are not the manifestation of the physicality. That's just the mirage part of it. That's the it's not a mirage, it's a real entity. It's a real entity, but it's the way it manifests here. Same as hydrogen is a plasma. You change the energy level of hydrogen to double it, and it behaves like deuterium. It's, to us, it's a different thing, but it's not. It's the same soul. Now it's behaving as deuterium. You bring it up to 56 times hydrogen, it's behaving like iron. You take that down half that twice, it's nitrogen. It's the same plasma, same entity. It looks the same at the plasma level, but its behavior here is different, right? So that's the thing. It's mistaking its behavior. That's what we've been doing, is mistaking our behavior at the point of interaction with what we really are. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Good point.
It may be the combination of amino acids we got here that produce this change with the fields we have here on Earth, or in, well, yes, I would say here on Earth, because apparently on the other planets we don't have this sort of aggressive way of living.
Yeah, and I guess it's the amino acid itself. Although the amino acid structure is the fractal pattern of life everywhere. It's that 1, 2, 3, and then that nitrogen, that 14. Or for us, it's 1, 12, 14, 16. The 1, 12, and 16, that's the shell. The 14 is the difference between the 12 and the 14 is 2 deuterium. There's something there, and that connection with the physicality with the 12 and the connection with the soul of the creator at 14. It's like we're out of tune or something. I know the copper is not in tune, where the zinc is in tune with the soul of the man. But the copper at the physicality level, that doesn't just, when I say in tune, it's not in tune as an octave. It's dissonant. That's not bad necessarily. It's just what it is, right? But there's, I'm not, I don't know the answer, but yes, it's something to do with the amino acid, the way it's manifesting and leaching, being a leech.
Can I jump in?
Yeah.
Good morning. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Jalal.
Hello.
Hi. John, you brought to my attention one thing. You said about the life here, the amino acid here, and the life outside in another universe or something. Just look to the life here. In which factor it's based.
I don't get your question, but I've always read about extraterrestrial happenings and lives and whatever, and there is a big difference apparently.
But what is actually happening here on Earth?
We're all at our throats, aren't we?
Well, Mr. Keshe called it. He wore a tie, and he said, "This tie has special significance to me." It's a picture of a fish out of water gasping for air. That's what Mr. Keshe called the human condition on this planet. It's not just the human condition, the life on this planet, but
Yes, yeah, the life in this planet. Based on what?
the
Isn't based,
amino acid, the amino acid.
yeah, but isn't based on fear of existence?
Yeah, but what creates that?
Look how they behave. Every entity here, how they behave.
Yeah, well, that's what we're talking about, the aggressiveness, the wanting to kill or wanting to do this or that.
Well, you say that, John, and everybody, but at the same time, we heard from John earlier describing how passive and how non-aggressive not only John is, but that he's finding the animals and bugs and everything else around him are becoming much less aggressive.
Yeah, exactly.
So what I'm suggesting is it's not every single entity on this planet necessarily that has that aggressiveness. Maybe some are learning to let go of that aggressiveness. And if that's possible for some to do it, perhaps it's possible for all to do it.
Maybe
And
the
if
big
that's
experiment, yeah, maybe the big experiment is what happens when you haven't got the presence of plasma in a free state.
Well, you always have the existence of plasma. I think that's the part we're missing because we're all big bags of Gants, aren't we?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's why it's in a free state.
Well, it can be in a free state if we link. That, I think, is the biggest problem. Like the ants all link to each other. How come we aren't? And if we link, then that energy gets passed. It's
well,
like
we are linked though. We're linked all together in this workshop right now, and everyone's
That's right.
hearing each other and able to speak and so on. It's a
that's right. That's
strong
right.
interaction.
But I think on a larger scale, at a plasmatic level, that we need to realize that the physicality is just the manifestation at this point, and that it's not us. It's not really us. It's just the manifestation of our soul in this environment, right? But we're gasping for air. When you're gasping for air, you don't think logically. You scratch and claw to get air, don't you? You can't think. That was the main reason I think that Mr. Keshe got us the CO2 and the zinc GANs first, and the CuO to give us a little bit of breath. Okay, we're still gasping, but at least we can catch our breath for a minute and think a little bit, you know? Because if you're gasping for air, what else are you doing? You're not doing anything else. You're gasping for air, scratching and clawing, killing and stealing, whatever you got to do. You don't think like.
Yeah, you mentioned ants. You normally don't see ants being aggressive to each other, but one opportunity over 45 years ago, I saw a war between two different type of ants, and it was incredible because I heard a big noise behind a thick, an inch and a half wooden door, and I said, "What's that noise?" I opened the door, and there I had the red ants fighting black ants, and they were making a hell of a noise. And I got some pictures I took of this war in that opportunity. I got them stacked in a box somewhere, but it's unbelievable the way they fight, and they're aggressive to each other, and the noise they make. And you would say, how can ants make such a big noise? That's such a hullabaloo there. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I guess we're all gasping for air. And the GANs materials are just adding energy to allow us to catch our breath a little bit. And then when we catch our breath, we can think through, why are we gasping in the first place when our physicality doesn't really need to manifest in that way?
This is the question. Yes, this is what I'm going to bring.
Yeah, I mean, why are we gasping for air? Why don't we just change our physicality to make it appropriate.
The
Yeah, so
oxygen ratio may have to do also.
the what?
The oxygen, too much oxygen or or a shortage of oxygen.
No, I'm not sure. I don't think he meant gasping for air in a literal sense. I think it's a plasmatic exchange that we're not getting. We're only getting 80% of what we need. So we're 20% short. So we're stealing. I think it's that. But, yeah, there's oxygen is definitely some, all of it. I think it's more generalized than that. But, it's really us not realizing that the physicality is not really who we are. It's just a manifestation of the soul in this environment.
Or
And
gasping of manifestation.
yeah, the gasping manifestation, exactly, right. And that causes all the problems, right?
This mirage, this mirage, he's gasping for manifest itself.
It causes the problems, that's right. But it also, the problems are actually the opportunities. Because if you think about it, it's due to our resistance about these physicality things, the aggression, the appetites, and all of the things that we think are so important, and our attractions and repulsions and so on about being on this planet.
So become intelligent, you mean?
Pardon me?
Become more intelligent?
Well, it helps us in when we observe those things in ourselves, when we see a weakness, what we could call a weakness, say anger, say, I observe myself getting angry at certain times, then it's that act of observation that's makes it possible to separate oneself, the one that's doing the objective observation, versus the one that's experiencing the event, let's say, or identified with the emotion, or the one that really thinks that anger is what they are at that moment. Versus,
Okay.
there's a separation. We're able to work with that. If we didn't have those weaknesses and all of those physicality things, then we'd already be in space, and we'd already be just hanging out, and we'd be stuck in eternity, and nothing would happen, and we would be in that bliss forever. But we wouldn't be happy, because it's hard to hang out in that eternal space. That's why we're here, experiencing things.
Okay, there is one question for you, my dear Rick. Compare your intelligence with the intelligence of our friends outside there. Do you think they came the same process we are? By killing, by forcing, by raping, by all this?
Wait a minute. Who have you killed recently?
Me?
Yeah.
All the time. When you breathe, you are killing also.
All right. Do you ever create anything? Are you just a killer? You run around killing things all the time?
Not in the meaning killing.
Do you ever elevate anything? Do you ever make anything not dead? Do you ever create You ever create an art piece? You ever create some words that are really cool, like thank we? That was an act of creation, was it not?
Yes, yes. I understand.
So you do beautiful creations, Jalel. So when you say that you are aggressive, or we are aggressive, and so on, I know you mean the general population of Earth and so on, but when it comes right down to it, people are not as aggressive as you kind of think they are in a way. I mean, we see these big movements of aggression and so on, but often there's some group or person behind it that's instigating.
No, Rick. What I meant. Why we go through the way of aggression and all of this to learn to be intelligent? And another universes, another planets, another cultures outside there, we see them how they progressive, and they have the more intelligent, maybe we need a trillion of years to achieve this. When you have sorry Mario, because you know take the cultures. If you go to let example I'm putting, it's not all true or right. For example, in our cultures, we have the knowledge, but we do not use it. We use the aggression side of teaching, even in schools. He must study, he must learn, he must comprehend, understand what we put in his head. And see, let's say in Europe, I'm here in Europe for more than 20 years. When I see how they teach the children, it's very different. And see who is getting the knowledge from this, what he's learning, who is better in the knowledge. I mean, see the peaceful way how they teach the children here, although they are programming it, but in a way it's better than who is forcing the program. It's the same thing what we are doing here in this earth.
And also, there's a big difference also if you looked into extraterrestrial bodies or whatever. They've all got big heads. Their brains are bigger. Their eyes are bigger, but their ears, their nose, and their mouth are very much smaller. Their bodies are smaller normally, and the experiments they've done inside their bodies, they find all their innards are completely, pretty much different to ours. We have bigger digestive systems because we have to, as you say, we need the 20% energy taken from digestion.
Do you remember? Do you remember? Sorry, Mario. Sorry, please. I'm sorry. Do you remember the word of Mr. Keshe? He said, "The man coming to this teaching out of fear." What if the man come to this teaching out of love? What will happen?
Not to the teaching, the technology.
To this knowledge. I mean,
not to the knowledge, but to the use of the technology. That's what the phrase was referring to, the fear, the use of the technology, not the knowledge.
Yeah, look.
Because we should get the original quote maybe about it. I believe it was
the attitude of each one of us. Some are practicing inventing different things, and others are just taking it for the knowledge.
But wait, look. I think what you were just saying, John, about these other entities having bigger heads and all this stuff, you're missing the point, I think. Mr. Keshe said every entity in the universe looks more or less the same. So
but there are differences, yeah.
No, they're not differences. It's just the way they manifest in their physicality. And it's the only difference.
Our perspective can be looking at their soul or looking at their physicality.
Yes, if you're looking
same
at the
as
soul.
all the humans on this planet. If you see someone with a dark skin in front of you, do you think this is a black person, or do you think here is another soul? I'm looking into their eyes and see them
if you look at
soul to soul.
If you look at their soul, they all look about the same. So does the aliens. So does everybody else. It's only the manifestation of it looks like an octopus. It's a soul, and it's got every bit of it, and it's just as intelligent on any level as you and I are. So is a mosquito, and this assumption that it's not, and that we have some higher level thing that we are the is basically a myth. That is not correct. Every entity in the universe is more or less the same. You have higher mass, lower mass, but it's all connected to the soul of the creator. How can that not be correct?
That's correct, but what you're saying is you can't have any elevation then.
Well, you do have an elevation of the soul, not of the soul of man. Not talking about elevation of the soul of man. I'm talking about elevating. It's growing. There's a difference between growing and not having intelligence. There's a difference. A child does not have the same intelligence when it's 2 as it does when it's 40. That's the funny thing is, it's lost its ability to communicate without speaking, and has lowered itself in a way, but then nonetheless it has much more experience and intelligence in the way of knowledge and ability to correlate. There's a difference between growing and elevating and adding layers and adding more experience and knowledge and intelligence. See, every entity in the universe looks more or less the same, whether it's a sun, whether it's an atom, whether it's a mosquito, whether it's a man from planet Zeus or the man on this planet. It's that lack of understanding that's the problem, right? It's only our physicality that's the problem here. It's only the physicality part. The soul's fine, yeah, but we're stuck here thinking that our physicality, and again, it comes back to, is man the problem? And Mr. Keshe said, this problem has happened in other parts of the universe as well. It's not only on this planet that this has happened. This kind of thing has happened before. It's happened many times before. It's not the norm, but it's, you know, not a rare exception that only happens once. It's something that happens. And Mr. Keshe is like a midwife, if you will, coming along to not correct the mistakes, but to elevate our souls to understand that, you know. It's a medical problem more than anything else. That's a bad way to put it, but yeah, every soul in the universe looks more or less the same. Yeah, you can't just cherry pick that when you want to use it. Yeah, I have to apply that to everything.
I don't think that the physical body is the problem. I think the physical body is structured in a way that it can absorb feels in a lot of different ways.
Well, I'm going by what Mr. Keshe said. The soul, the physicality is a leech on the soul of the man. So that indicates a problem. It's taking more energy than it's giving back, not in balance. And it's out of tune. That literally, Mr. Keshe used that terminology a couple of weeks ago. It's out of tune, the physicality.
What if it's not our body what if it's not our body that's out of tune, but it's
the physicality.
The emotions that are out of tune.
Well, it's through the emotions that we've gone out of tune because we're gasping.
It's not the physical body.
No, it's the physical body that's out of tune, and it's the leech. That's what Mr. Keshe said. But why is that happening? It's in the emotional level.
I don't think he said the physical body. Didn't he say the physicality, which is different than the physical body, I think?
Well, the physicality is the manifestation, right, of the amino acids. But the emotions are the filterings. That's where we're getting our fingers and our legs and our our digestive tract. All of that stuff is coming through the RNA and getting filtered through the emotions. That's what's adjusting our physicality and creating the physicality. There is where the problem is. You're right. It's at the emotional level, creating a filtering. It's manifesting a physicality that's gasping for air in our environment, but not gasping for air, but gasping for energy. Yeah. So the emotions are a problem for sure, but it's causing a problem as it manifests in the physicality. So the physicality is definitely.
I don't think now I'm going to. I don't think that the emotions are the problem. It's our understanding of emotions, because it seems like we were given an ability to feel emotions. We're given a physical body to move around with. And so it's like, what if we used our physical bodies and emotions in order to like in a beneficial way?
Yeah, but you know, there's a couple of things about when we talk about the emotions. See, there's the emotional, there's the interim, or what is it? The transition from the soul to the physicality, which are layers that are building up. It's the octave below, it's the iodine. If there's 128 is the soul of the man. What is it? 64 is the zinc, which is the emotional layer. These are just layers of fields, and it's through these emotional layers that we're filtering the structure of the physicality. But then it's also where we store our memories and our experiences. So now you gotta differentiate that when those emotions, those memories are also interacting with the emotional layers. That's why you have an emotional trauma 20 years ago and now you get a cancer, because it's filtering the layers. So it's the emotional layer. When I talk about the emotions, I'm just talking about that region of the fields where the soul is transitioning to the physicality. And that's also where we have the storage of what you call love. See, what you call love may not be the same thing that I call love. I mean, I had a girlfriend once, what you call love. Well, sorry. Yeah. I mean, what is love? Most of the time, possession is love for most people. My wife, that's my girlfriend, that's my blah, blah, blah. I'm jealous and that. Oh, you love me, you're jealous. Is that really love? Right?
Yeah, you have to throw in the word unconditional to kind of differentiate, I think, and that does set it aside as a different form of love, because it automatically means that it doesn't mean identifying with the emotion so much. It's more of a pervading mood, you might say, rather than a passing emotion. It's a deeper form of that.
To me, when I looked at the karma, I call it, that bandwidth that allows every entity in the universe to link when entities have the same so-called frequency is a bad word, but the same energy level. If it had to be the exact same energy level, exactly the same, then everything would be exactly the same. Not that every soul, it looks more or less the same. It looks more or less the same. Like every cat looks more or less the same, but every cat is different. And it's that karma, that little karma that allows a bandwidth where things can link as unisons and not be exactly the same. If it's beyond that, then it's something else. It's a dog, it's not a cat. But you have a bandwidth there. That little bandwidth that allows entities to interact, but keeps them separate, right? That's the creator. It's the space gap in between the vortexes of the fields of the magnetical and gravitational that separates them, that allows this one to interact with that one as a unison or an octave or a fifth or a third or 28 to 1 or 60, and still allows them to communicate, interact, and yet keeps them have their own entity. It's the ultimate expression of, for an artist, the ultimate expression of free giving love is to express no emotions, to have no emotions so that it allows everybody else to express their emotions. Yeah, if the creator's having a bad day, then everybody has to have a bad day. To me, the creator is the one that's the space gap. It's the ultimate server. It serves the needs of everybody else to get what they need so that I can have emotions. If I want to have a bad day, I can have a bad day. It's not imposed on me. It's the servant master situation where the creator is the servant and never imposes its will. That's for the creator of the universe to be the stucco, the mortar in between the walls, the plumbing in my house. That's the essence of humility. Yeah, that's the creator. That's real love. That takes a higher level of everything. Talk about elevating the soul. Yeah. That's my opinion.
So can a mosquito do that?
Every entity can do that, but do we? If we're gasping for energy and we're not thinking clearly and we're confusing our physicality for us and all the rest of it, then no. And I think that's the point, because that's what every entity, my experience with the entities that I've interacted with is their essence of humility. They're there to serve. They're what you need. No imposition of anything. Yeah. this, what the entities are looking for to guarantee their own survival is to serve the needs of another. So that when they serve that need, they get a feedback loop, and that's how they grow. They get an exchange of energy, they get an exchange of information. That entity knows more about me than I know about it, because it interacted with me and has the ability to think clearly, not gasping for energy, that kind of thing, yeah? Or I'm gasping and banging into things and all the rest of it. But yeah, that's the norm, is you look for something that needs something you have, and then you give, and then you get back, and that's how you grow. That's, you know, the opposite. That's that thing of why, Mr. Keshe, like, there's not really a stronger and a weaker in the plasma. But Mr. Keshe made it a point to talk about the stronger feeds the weaker, because it's the exact opposite of the way humans do. You know, the stronger steal from the weaker here, you know, so it's like a metaphor. But in the reality, there's no stronger or weaker. There's, I have something you need, and exchange energy. And then what I can take from you, I can get, you know. It's the norm way of guarantee your survival. Yeah.
Hi. Hello.
Go ahead, Jedi.
Imprinting. It's called when you appear.
Sorry, you
in,
said imprinting? Is that what you said?
yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
When you come into physicality, you have around 40,000 packets of information. And then you have to start to work with this information to build up your body. And so a software created to face this incarnation, this manifestation. Imprinting is taking place all the time. So since you arrive, the moment you arrive here and you start breathing, then you measure your field and you take oxygen. Then you open your eyes and you bring in tones. So all this is a teaching. When we die, we have 2 million packets of information of data. With 40,000, we die with 2 millions. So where is this? It's imprinting. It's giving you the idea that normality, which is normality, natural one, and you are not living within a natural environment on the desert island. You are living inside cultures. So this culture is giving you a reflection of what might be nature, but it is not nature in its it is a man creation. This man-made creation, which is culture, and there are various cultures. So we have because we have a it means that nature is giving you every opportunity. But culturally speaking, when you have diversities, which are cultural diversities, then you have war sooner or later. So there is a mistake in the way we deal with our ideas, and we do not resonate with the ideas of the other people, entities, living creatures. So there is no affinity, there is no sympathy, there is no friendliness. Imposing our point of view to a fundamental passage, which is listening. We are not listening to anyone. And so you find out that everyone is teaching and no one is learning. And on the other side, on the other hand, you have that every taking is getting for himself and that is egoic behavior. It's getting and it's not giving back. So the idea that we should serve and we should create every day and give time is opposite to the idea of, let's say, power or strength. A man that is in power of his condition, his life, and so is this one is king. Oh, powerful. Okay, but it's not giving; it's getting. It's fed by the others, the weaker ones. So it is probably within printing lifestyle that does not allow us to give enough, take in what is the size of our body, take in more than 1 liter of water in a bottle of 1 liter. So you don't put 2 liters in it. And this is the limit. We know we have no limit in our cultures because we started taking in too much and all time without consideration, without respect, abusing. So nature is in equilibrium, is harmonical. We own instruments, but we have desires that are so huge, desires. These desires can change the shape of the fields around us and create mayhem. So it is the fact that we should respect the Tao, the equilibrium of the sides, day and night, half each, and we don't practice this. So and we steal. That is stealing. So we are not giving and sharing, giving back. That is probably within the imprinting. We all start with chances, with all, and with the opportunity, but then we stop serve desire. It's cause of this
Hello, Jedi. You're sorry, missed the last couple of sentences there.
so that we should try. Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
We're hearing you now.
Okay. And so that is the teaching and receiving this ability, this knowledge, and this and acting in this way, the attitude, sharing, giving back, knowing that the value of something created, it took you a long time to paint a picture, months. So, and you know the value of this action, and you are sharing this, and so it's bringing beauty, and transforming this feeling into art. This is a gift to everyone because it's going to be shared in a museum, and everyone can see the beauty expressed in that sculpture, for example. So this giving is an action that it's taking place only in a minority. But there is another minority that is acting in the opposite way. They are fed, and they use all this kind of fuels just to enslave, and that's not going to work. So probably is a fact that has to do with culture. Nature is, we cannot say nature is not functioning. It's equilibrium, it's there, it's in harmony. It's interfering with it at every level. Energetically, we are polluting, we are thinking in that way, we are violent because we do not understand, we do not share. So we are violent because we want to take in more. So that is probably the fact that the dark side of the Tao has been growing with no limit, and the light, you see, the other comma, is narrowing, is smaller, and this cannot be, because what comes in as go up, that is equilibrium, that is harmony. So culture, from this point of view, has misunderstood the fundamental symbols, where equilibrium is the key, where to share what you have, what you are, is the gift. And instead we see secretive societies that hold back patents 50, 100 years. They don't give back knowledge, creation. They do not share. And so they profit of a certain technology, a certain situation, certain knowledge. They benefit, they exploit it, they commercialize, they get rich and powerful, and they abuse of that position, and they do not share it. And that is in physicality, and it is in thought and in action. So that is called power. But they are not following equilibrium. They are not following, if the light is shining, let it through. If there is a solution to atomic waste, let it through. Clean up. So if you want to sell it, okay, let's see how much. Let's find out the price. But at least let's not just hide it away 100 years to start again with electric cars. After 100 years, we have polluted all the planet. We're going back to the batteries. Nonsense. So it's giving. That is the difference. It's not really the idea of a patent. It's, okay, knowledge is here. We are going to share it. We are going to benefit. Light is coming into the equation. If you hide away things, where do you place them? In a safe, darkness, in a cave, in a cupboard. You hide it away, and that is dark. So that is really not enabling the light to come in, be shared. All the problem, if you see from a different angle, based on not following balanced, equilibrium, harmonical ways, and desires. You want more and more, and it never ends. And kings have this problem because they got a lot more and they want more, and there is no limit to their. They suffer a lot because they really are looking for something more, and they are ready to pay half of the empire to have it, and they can't.
And
They're not allowed.
they have big fear of the loss as well. That is always dogging them.
And that is fear, of course. And so it makes them really violent when they are afraid. And so that is because you're going to miss something. Because they are too physical, too materialist. And they do not understand where the mistake is. Within equilibrium, you cannot hold with one hand the dish on one side. You have to let it balance slowly and find out by yourself. That is malady within man, illness, when you don't follow equilibrium. Vice is the same kind of mistake. You want more and more, and then you become addict. It's all into equilibrium and balance. That is within the martial arts, within yoga, within the teachings that are dealing with the soul. It's there. And these are not commandments. These are truths. 108 in Vedas. They are there. They're placed there. We don't need to discuss them anymore. Water is wet. Fire burns. That's it. So once this is clarity, it's reached, this level is there, then now how can we balance things? Start with yourself, then try to give. Every time you take, you give, balance it. You eat 5 fruits, plant 5 seeds. Just balance it. From a spiritual point of view, is understandable. From a cultural point of view, you receive a story, give back a story. You share your experience, you are sharing, and that is your soul vibrating within your heart, your knowledge, and it's present in your heart there, and you are sharing a part of you, your field, with someone else. That is giving. I hope this is clear in some way. It's there is no fault in someone particular. We all go through this process. Everyone in the multiverse, everyone goes through the egoic quality of a perception and desire. Now there are those who profit of desires and they control them and they advertise them, let's say, and so that you can get in within the imprinting. You can this desire becomes a tangible one, and you are looking for that specific good, and that is the fact that you are not present, that you don't understand that someone is feeding you, because then you will need more of that kind of ingredient. And so it's giving just to the moment you start asking for more. That is the trick. That's the game. So you say, that's too much. Why am I eating so much sugar? So stop. So that's too salty. Why am I looking for salt? It's too much. It's not me. So who is it? And then there is a parasite. It's back. It's within our physical body, and it's starting to live and to feed on sugar. And so he says, I want more. And he sends a toxin to the brain, and the brain says, I need more sugar. And so it's the alchemy. And then there is diabetes. And the parasite has been acting for 20 years in this way because you fed it. And is a creature that is living within our body, within our ganses, that is pulling, is asking for more, and it is not in equilibrium. So as a captain of the ship, then you have to decide, I'm going that way, I'm not going that way anymore. And so you say enough sugar. And you are in control of your ship. And that is your body. And body and ship and spirit, and it's Merkaba. So it's very easy. That is the ship. And you're going towards the light. But you have to be present to be there, the right moment. And the difference is that we can decide, and so we cut off branches that are not useful. And so the tree grows stronger. Because that part of it has a problem. But it's not by cutting that you solve situations. That is a crisis. Crisis means to this decision, seizio, it's to cut. Crisis, within the word crisis, you have the root to cut. It's not by cutting that we solve the things. That is a war. We are cutting off, we are killing, we are not enabling equilibrium to be part of the function. So it's not by avoiding or by cutting off, it's by accepting, dealing with the problem of immigration, let's say, and finding equilibrium within solutions, possible solutions, and not building a wall or killing someone or letting the boat in the middle of the sea and say, oh, it's not my problem. It's not this. The energy is manifesting there, the manifestation of the beings there. You cannot just leave them there. So you act and interaction based on equilibrium, balance, and harmony is a positive attitude. Whenever you cut, and so you decide something, you dictate, not considering these three elements, which in nature enables creation to be in balance, you have created another problem. To yourself and to other people. And the chain there is holding you down in the gravitational condition. So you don't see the light because the dark side of the Tao has been growing too much. It's not fair. So you open the safe, you get the patterns, you put the patterns, you write them down in the net. Everyone can read them. Okay, find the solutions, free. Just practice them. Okay, we have solved 1, 2, 3, 4. Once you start solving, it's like you see paradising. You see trees. You say, oh, it's wonderful. I'm going to do it. I just won't throw away waters like this. I will help. And that is knowledge, and that is love, and that is giving back what miners one day, they went down there to get this metal. And today this metal is going back. So it's fulfilling the cycle. This is the Tao is spinning. Constance has to be there with this movement. It's a continuous one. If you stop it, there's something wrong. If you hold back, you are too greedy. And there are too many greedy people around. Too many. Give back, share. And not talking about money, knowledge, culturally speaking. Give back opportunities to people, to plants, to animals. That is to resonate together. Okay, I think you got the picture.
Okay, thank you, Jedi. Some good perspectives there. Alrighty, anybody else like to go ahead with other perspectives? See, Mark has written here something interesting. It was actually a while ago, but he says, trying to complete the circle, come from and go back to the creator. MTK, that's Mr. Keshe, completed the circle lots of times, beginning as a ray from the creator, but has no end, this infinity loop, so to speak. So it seemed to remind me that there are these big cycles, and we can we are, in fact, invariably part of this cycle of creation, of creation of a sneeze there, of this circle of creation, of evolving, so that we are able to pass through different levels and then actually become the creator, and then go back to being a ray, and then become a creator, and so on and so forth. This eternal cycle that never ends, in a way, because there's always opportunities to evolve and always opportunities to manifest in different manifestations, if one so wishes, and that's just part of the process. Sometimes we end up on funky planets like Earth, where we have these apparently strange things going on, and things like aggression and other activities that don't seem like they're correct somehow. But yet again, maybe that is the opportunity where we get to exercise this thing that's sometimes called free choice, or being able to consciously decide to engage in certain behavior or not. And I think that's one thing that we're able to do as humans, or we should be able to do if we train ourselves properly and uplift ourselves to the point that we can do that, to be able to take the choice of actually helping the creation, the ongoing creation of the creator, or we can dive into the physicality world and end up experiencing pleasures, or experiencing the highs and lows of life on planet Earth, and try to forget about our relationship with ourselves, our own creator, our own soul inside. And a lot of activities on planet Earth seem to be specifically to try to forget that connection. That's where the money's at. Divide and conquer. All the division is definitely where profits can be had for those that are looking for profits.
Rick?
Yes.
Yes. So, talking about listening, I found out alien code and the around Earth. Well, probably here.
Sorry, the what code, Jedi? Alien code?
Yes.
Okay.
But It's hidden within stochastic propagation of waves. In certain spectrums, if you look for resonant ones, you find out there are images of this code. It's shared in scriptures, so it's not an audio wave. It's something that has to do with the way images are transmitted. So you can just not switch on a radio and listen to this kind of signals because they are spread within the noise. But if you visualize in a planar field sonograms, let's say, it's by going deep into white noise you find them. So I published some of them, and you see even images that they share and their codes. I got 5 different languages, and this is happening right now. So it's nothing new, but it's there in front of our eyes. The problem with these codes is that we might take some time to translate them, but they mean something to everyone. First, we are not alone. Second, we are receiving, so someone is sending towards our dimension messages. These look like ancient scriptures, something between Devanagari Sanskrit, Arabic, and Aramaic. But there are 5 different kinds of symbology. So this is something that by listening, by taking care, by trying to reach, you shall find, you shall see. This has to be common knowledge for everyone to know that intelligence is there, and it has been shared all the time, but we miss it because we don't consider the totality of the picture. We just consider one line, one frequency at a time, one number.
That's what our modern radios are designed for. If they were to tune 2 frequencies at once, we'd call it a defective radio.
Yes, in fact, Tesla.
And if it tuned in between the stations instead of the stations, it'd be even worse. And that's where the real action is in between the stations rather than on the station.
Yes, and Nikola Tesla used to listen with this spooky radio to the totality of the frequencies all together, let's say mixed up, but some of the sounds, some of the languages, some of the messages sent were creepy sounds, okay, but there was something. So if we don't see this into physicality, then it must be placed in some other level. And that is where this knowledge comes in, plasmatic. So if we are talking about not the extraterrestrial, because we are considering the matter state, but we are talking about a concept that is a xenodimensional, a foreign dimension to us, is a different one, but still existing. Now you shall see the difference. And there are messages in that kind of field.
You mentioned Tesla, for example, when he was setting up his radio for reception, he would be listening. He wouldn't be listening to radio stations. They had no radio at that point. So you'd be listening to the full spectrum to pick up the sounds of the universe, basically, or whatever was coming through in your locality. So what he would listen for specifically was for lightning storms that were coming. And he could hear a storm coming up to 1,000 miles away. And he would be able to discern the lightning strikes. And each one was different, each one was unique according to him. And they were so impressive to them that some of these lightning strikes he was listening to, he would give names to, and he would give names of the Greek gods to the lightning strike, or some other entity that was like the godlike entities that were Greek and Roman, entities like that. And I thought that was pretty stunning. And he wasn't listening really for the physicality of the lightning. He knew that it was associated with this flash in the sky and the sound of thunder, and he was listening to it electrically, but on a different level, as if they were godlike. They were of such, to him, and in reality, it's the greatest form of plasma that we have on this planet. It's incredible what lightning can do. They're actually finding out it puts out what do you call it, antimatter, from the lightning strikes, and creates plasma and plasma balls and all kinds of plasmatic effects. Not to mention it creates this enormous potentials in the atmosphere and other effects and so on. But if you look at it as a higher field force coming from the source, or from God or gods or something like that, then it becomes a different perspective. It's a lot different than listening to the top 40 on your local radio station. That's for sure. Imagine how he felt in first hearing these amazing sounds. I've set up my crystal radio so it can also pick up sounds of I could hear a storm from a few kilometers away coming in, and I could actually I could see the lightning occurring and hear it in the system the way I had it set up. But I was hearing it as an electrical sound through the system and converting it so it sounded more pleasing to me. I had it converted through software to have a different nature to the sound. And each lightning strike, sure enough, was so unique and so individual. When you mentioned resonance before, Jedi, and the resonance had a lot to do with it. You can add resonance and reverb and pitch control and this kind of thing to listening to a radio in this manner. And then you start to tune in different frequencies and different levels of sound, of what we call sound, but it's basically a transformation of electrical type phenomena or plasma type phenomena into a realm that our hearing can actually make some sort of sense out of, and hopefully in a pleasing way, because there's lots of unpleasing sounds that you can listen to as well. And in that, it's part of that whole process is so important, this tuning in between the channels and in between where the normal emphasis would be. So it's like the gaps in terms of the nanotechnology. It's the gaps between the particles, or what we call particles, the denser plasmatic fields. Is the area in between is where all the action is, really. And if you think of the nanolayers, that's where the plasma moves, not through the particles held in that structure, but in between the particles, due to the space that's been allowed the space is opened up and it's allowed the plasma to flow through. It won't flow through in the physical copper. The atoms are all jammed together and the plasma doesn't flow very well. In fact, electricity doesn't even flow very well inside the copper. It flows better on the surface. So in terms of the plasma, when that nano layer opens up, that allows the plasma flow through those 10 to 50,000 layers or whatever it is of nano layering. In the same way, you can listen to a crystal radio or other types of tuning systems and listen to the flow in between the so-called channels that the tuners are normally set up for.
No, Rick, it's the other way around. We are listening to all the fields mixed up all together. So it's by receiving a white noise from 0 to, let's say, 100,000 kilohertz. Let's say it's like receiving VLF, ELF, ULF. It's all the frequencies together. Then you have the picture. Now,
yes, but then you can't discern any meaning out of it because it's white noise.
Yes. This is what happened. It appears to be white noise, and so you take a look at it, and it's all white. It's like a granite stone. It's white and gray with dots. And then suddenly, within this white noise, let's say that you are sitting in front of the sea and you listen to the waves going. And suddenly there is total silence for 5 seconds. And you turn around and you say, what's going on? And so after 5 seconds, goes back again. And so what happened? There was a glitch. There was something there. So you are listening to all the spectrum of frequencies, and then suddenly everything disappears. In a natural environment, it cannot happen. And then something enters, you see the code lines, and then it goes on. So this means that even if I am using all the spectrum at the same time, but I am concentrating on a planar figure that has a time rate, a frame, let's say that I refresh, and I concentrate on specific frequencies in that picture, then I visualize the alien code.
Well, again, that's what I'm saying. You have to discern in some manner, otherwise it is just white noise. So by listening in a certain way, you're able to discern some meaning out of it. Otherwise, your picture would just be a white board with just
We missed it because we were listening to the sounds of the white noise. We were not looking at the picture of it, at the image. Because once you place this white noise on a planar surface, there you find scriptures, writing. So this, culturally speaking, they're not sending sound, they are sending the image of the scripture within a total field, which is an emanation. And probably these are only harmonics of it, because they are sending this everywhere. And we are receiving only a little bit of it. So a few lines. I got something like 45 different lines, but 5 different alphabets. Not even alphabets. The level, it's so high that it shall take cryptography, steganography, and a specialist to study this kind of messages. But I placed them there, they are there, so you can see it. You can do it by yourself. look for it, listen, you find out that there is intelligence, a high order intelligence. And whenever you see something more, images, well, that is xenodimensionals. So they are there. You call them ghosts and spirits because there was no other way to call these kind of entities in the past. So we were afraid of these phenomenons. But since the 70s, this has been investigated and known as metavision and instrumental metavision. So we all know that this is possible and we can receive from other portions of neighboring dimensions contact. So it's not by going physical or totally physical. We can go, which is dimensionally speaking, within rarefaction, within subtle fields, towards living beings that are placed on
Hello,
it's
hello,
not at all.
Jedi.
Yeah.
We heard was with living beings and something about placed.
Well, they are in the neighboring dimensions. So it's not understandable from our point of view if we need the physicality. But once we go up there, we shall meet. Most of it is not tangible. Most of it. We are looking for exoplanets. Okay, we found 1 million of them. Fine. Most of it is not tangible. You shall not be able to touch it. And even to meet creatures that live below the surface of the sea, that 7,000 meters below our level, you cannot meet them. But you can share culture. You can share something with them, noticing them. So I say that I received something. I published it. It's there. Now it's up to you. So we missed it. Someone knew probably. Plenty. But we can do it. It doesn't take a lot of technology to do it. And we knew because by meditating resonance and dreaming, moving to other levels, we can see, we can meet, we can just participate. But of course, something else is to see the scripture and to find out, oh my God, what's this? It was all white, then suddenly there is a black light. So, contact, that's it. And we are not limited to the physicality anymore. So, next time we go to the space, you have to think about bringing with you theologists, people that have been working on the soul, within the soul, all the knowledge. I say that this writing looks like Sanskrit mixed with Arabic, mixed with Aramaic, and it is so complex that I only receive. It's a vibration. It's not one of the alphabets we use. I respect this as a gift and I share it it has reached this planet, so share with everyone.
Okay, you could put the link maybe in the chat for that.
Yes, I placed the 2 links. There are 2 links, different ones. First one and second one. In the second one, you see unanswered lines of code that are present. It was a tough job. And time. So maybe they shall be disturbing for someone that is not used to, but these kind of images, in the sense that they are fluid. You have to just enable vision to find. And they are big eyes, small mouth, small nose, small ears. It's very fluid, but you can see.
Yeah, I think we looked at those at one of the other workshops one time. Is that your first link you put in? You're talking about now?
Yes, the first one was alien code lines.
Okay.
This is the second one. No, wait. The second one is
The second one is what we already showed with the trees and whatnot.
not that one. There is Xenodimensionals, it's called. That is the last one that I published. Here you see the enhanced
I don't see it in the chat.
Disappeared? Ah, yes.
Did you push send?
No, because I sent it to Mark.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all panelists. Here okay, that is the latest one.
Okay, so people can check that out then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we looked at that before. Okay, it's getting on here. Is there more you'd like to discuss, Jedi, about that?
Just take a look at 2 or 3 lines and tell me if you see it, if you recognize intent, if you recognize a symbolism, because it has to make sense, not to one, but to everyone. So we reach together. It's not only one. This is the idea. It's sharing. So if someone sends a message to this planet and then they hide it away for a couple of 100 years, and then they asking why they're not answering back, what's happening? And maybe one day they come, but okay, now it's there, the message is there. Just take a look.
Okay, well, I guess we could show that briefly here. So this is the site and the link in the chat. I don't think it'll work in the live stream. The other link wouldn't work because it's not a what do you call it, certified site or something or another. It didn't seem to go through, but let me see if this one will. I think it worked in YouTube. You see the
just further the writing.
Just a second. I wanted to. Oh, okay. It's just busy on live stream and the other. Okay, so here's your background white noise with dual different density.
That is the dark one. Then it's changing. You see it's becoming gray again. And then here you have two densities, three densities. Now it looks like randomic. You see the triangular one on the left-hand side. Yeah, that one. There are two of them. These are like Egyptian. And here it is on white surface and dark symbol. Now this is chaotic. It's still chaotic, but I started to recognize this kind of messages, because then you go further down and you see when you reach the right resonance, the image, even this line is usually not possible, the black line like this. And here you see the dots, 9 dots in the line going down. Yes, this one is an interruption. So it's how is it possible? And this is going ta 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 ta. It's like this. So it's opening communication and saying, here I am. And it's not only 3 dots, it's more. So you have contacting you. Then going further down, the central one. It's like a 3-dimensional one. You see the image is bizarre. It's like a 3-dimensional image within a flat image. Here is the scripture. And it is not chaotic, randomic, because there are repetitions of symbols. But they are mixed together, usually on 2 or 3 lines. Here you see the third code. It has like a Morse code upper part, and it looks like Sanskrit. Here is what I call generative. So this is not noise. It's not only noise. It contains messages. The beginning, it looks like just noise to us, to everyone. Nonsensical. But once you enter the pattern, the rhythm, the symbolism, and then it's much clearer. But you need the right instruments. Look at this one. This is a wonderful one. This was in tune. And here it is enhanced. This is some sort of communication received. Well, that's the moon. That's just the eclipse. Well, maybe we have a possibility to contact, to understand, to read this. Okay, that's just the receiving some information, some codes.
All right. Well, if people want to dive into that a little further, there's the link available. I think you have some other pages as well with
Well,
probably
there are
from,
images
from the
of,
original JediSimon.com, probably.
What? Let's go back to the. Yes, this was the first one, and there I found out that there were even pictures showing, and so by tuning to the right planar image of the white noise, you can detect projections from different dimensions. So that's why I call them xenodimensionals. These are foreign to us, different, but and so beings you shall find apart from this codes that we find. So it's not only beings.
Okay, thank you, Jedi.
Yeah.
Anybody have any comments about that or anything else they'd like to bring up? Well, I think we're nearing the end here. I'm nearing my end of being able to carry on. I was exhausted when we began, and we're into 3.5 hours here, so it's probably good enough for now, unless someone has something they really like to bring up. Going once, going twice. All right, well, maybe we'll phase out for today. Thank you for the sharing today. Lovely pictures and ideas that came up. And some good discussion and good interaction.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Annie, for your interaction as well. Good to hear from you again. Welcome here anytime. If you have any questions or GAN's experiences you'd like to reveal, those are always fun.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to end the meeting, I guess, for now. So, thank you everyone for being part of the Keshe Plasma Reactor Group for Wednesday, July 24th, 2019. And my name is Rick Crammond, and this has been part of the KFSSI education. And we'll be having, no doubt, an interesting Knowledge Seekers workshop coming up tomorrow. That's Thursday at 9 a.m. Central European Time, as usual. And we'll find out the results of the meetings that Mr. Keshe has been attending and whether we might be getting additional information revealed through the Knowledge Seekers workshops and go on to the next stage of our knowledge in an application of this plasma knowledge for space and for the creation of all the things that we need in space, which has been, Mr. Keshe has hinted that he will provide that information if things go wrong in the meetings that he's having today. So in a way, we're hopeful that things go wrong so that we get the information. But in another way, we hope the meetings go well so that the governments realize that the information is important and it's important to get it out and have world peace, because that
So-
is his prime objective in all this.
So otherwise, we are going there.
We are going there?
Yeah. Whatever happens today, we are going there.
Yes, one way or another,
One way or another.
we're going there.
If you recognize the word of Mr. Keshe, he said, "I put myself in a position that must act."
Mm-hmm.
So either ways, we have something.
Yeah, it looks that way. It looks that way. It's just whether we go kicking and screaming or we go
Yes.
willingly.
That's how I
Well-
like it. Kicking and screaming.
Yeah, well, I mean, do we really want the new technology? How much do you want it? Are you sure you want it? It might not be all that you think it's going to be. Maybe it'll be more trouble than it's worth.
Rick, what was your impression when he said new technology is coming?
Well, I think he'll reveal a lot more about the space technology and how to actually implement it, is including lift and the shielding and all of the essential technologies that are part of the space technology that he's been, in a way, holding back on and emphasizing other things for the last few years or so, and hoping that he's been hoping that the governments will catch on and start developing out the technology for peace. And if he gets resistance to that, then all the people will have to get the knowledge so that it gets developed out and the governments pay attention to the people. And either way, it's peace.
Let me put you in his place. Let me put you in his place.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think when he start all this teaching that he have some, let's say, what positive point from the government? I don't think
Positive
so.
point from the government.
Yeah.
Well, he's had a lot of resistance all the way along, but he's had to sort of learn that if I do this, suddenly the government's Belgium is against me, or some other government, depending. Yeah, he's had a lot to work against.
You know, one word I remember all the time. He said, "You can change the environment, but you cannot change the plasma." When this plasma and this earth in this condition for thousands of years, you cannot change it. Only you can change the environment that plasma will eventually change. And that's what's happening. I cannot change Rick in 1 second, and Rick cannot change Jalal in 1 second, but he make the right environment to him to change from inside.
Mm-hmm.
So when he decided to bring this knowledge or accepted the mission, he knows what's coming, 100%. What is the outcome of all of these? You see, when you make your CO2 books, you know the outcome of this CO2 books, 100%. It will take 5 days, or it will take 2 weeks, or more whitish, more growish, more amino acid. you know the outcome because you made that condition. So he made this condition and he knows exactly what is the outcome. As you said, they will shout and out, but eventually they will come.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we will see, as the blind man said. Mark mentions meat out of air and cancer gone in seconds. Well, the meat out of air, in a way, has already been started. There's a company in Finland that's, as I mentioned before, that's creating protein from CO2 and water, which is pretty amazing. And that's what we'll be doing soon as well, I believe. Okay, any other thoughts in passing?
Just thank you very much, Rick.
Well, thank you too, John. I meant to thank you earlier for your translation work in the 1N, 1P, 1R, which was just very lovely and very clear. Your microphone and voice were perfect, so thank you for that
It's a pleasure.
translation during the Gianni's presentation there. Okay, let's phase out for now. See you in the Knowledge Seekers workshop tomorrow, or perhaps in the private teaching. One of the last private teachings for a couple of months before September, when we reconvene in the private teachings. But the plasma group will keep going as far as I know, if I can keep doing it for the next while through the break. And also the Knowledge Seekers workshop will keep going, but not the 1N, 1P, 1R. That will be in September again. All right, over and out for now. Thanks, everyone. Catch you next time.
Thank you, Rick.
Bye-bye.